Okay, we're going to resume. The recess is over, and we're now going to consider the Hoover number 61 Drainage Improvement Project. And I'm going to read through the rules that we're going to follow, how we're going to proceed today, so everybody understands that. And then I will, because this is going to be a little different we have a number of unusual exceptions in this particular one. So I'm going to kind of read how we're going to proceed so everybody's on the same page. So let's begin. This is the final hearing for the consideration of the Hoover number 61 Watershed Drainage Improvement Project. I'm going to stop for a second and introduce my fellow commissioners. I'm Gary Merrill. I'm board chair this year. To my right is Commissioner Barb Lewis, vice chair, and of course my fellow commissioner, Jeff Benton. There's a sign-in sheet circulating the room, and we ask that you please sign the sheet to indicate your attendance. I see it's going around right now. Here's how we're going to proceed. We will hear a summary of the final hearing report from the county engineer and the Soil and Water Conservation District. Following the summary presentation, there will be time for questions from the board. After the board questions, the board will hear from any interested owners that wish to testify. Those speaking for or against the petition must be an owner as defined in section 6131.01 of the revised code. The board will acknowledge receipt of any landowner's written testimony before hearing live testimony. We will first call all those...
Or an attorney?
No.
Not in the testimony?
No.
No.
We will first call all those wishing to testify in favor of the project. We will then call all those who wish to testify in opposition to the project. Before testifying, you'll be asked to take an oath. After all those wishing to testify for or against the project have been heard, there will be an opportunity for responsive or rebuttal testimony. The board will close the public hearing after all testimony and evidence has been presented. After listening to the testimony and the report of the engineer, the board will decide whether to find in favor of the improvements, affirm the previous order, confirm the assessments, and approve the payment schedule, or the board may dismiss the petition and set aside the previous order. These are the three factors the board will consider: whether proposed improvement is necessary, whether the proposed improvement will be conducive to the public welfare, and whether the cost of the proposed improvements will be less than the benefits the improvements provide. Now, because this is a little different, we have three exceptions, so I just want to verbally kind of outline how we're going to proceed today. First thing we're going to have, we're going to talk about the petition at large, and Brett will bring us up to date and give the final recommendation. We will then hear positive and negative testimony, and then we will make a decision, may go into executive, and we'll evaluate or have a conversation, better stated, about whether that petition is likely to be approved or not. If it's not approved, there's no reason to hear the exception. If it is belief that we'll be going forward, then we will listen to the three exceptions, and we will listen to those in the order they were received. And then we will vote on those as they come up in the order they were received in presentation. And then based on that, then we will handle the original petition, whether it's approved or not. So that's, we'll be a little fluid, but that is the plan on how we're going to proceed today. And with that, if there are any comments from the commissioners? Brett, turn it over to you.
I'm trying. All right, but we want to switch.
And while he's doing that, I just want to thank everyone for their attendance today and for being here to be part of this hearing.
You ready, Jen?
Yep.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. Brett Bacon, Deputy Administrator, Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. We have a short presentation outlining the proposed project. I'll go through that and then be happy to answer any questions from the board. The Hoover number 61 Drainage Improvement Project has been requested under the guidelines of Ohio Revised Code section 6131. The petition specifically requests in Delaware County, Harlem Township, within the Hoover No. 61 watershed, and generally following but not limited to the course and termini of the existing improvements. Further goes on to request to generally improve the drainage, both surface and subsurface, to a good and sufficient outlet by replacing, repairing, or altering the existing improvements as required and/or creating new surface and subsurface drainage mains or laterals as requested by this petition. Petition was filed April 19th, 2019 by Tony C. Hill and Christy S. Hill and others. The view was held July 15th, 2019, and the first hearing was held October 10th, 2019. The watershed for the project is approximately 1,488 acres. 75% of this watershed is agricultural, 15% rural residential, 9% woods, and 1% road right-of-way. The original petition was signed by 20 individuals representing 21 of the 147 parcels in the watershed. Those parcels can be seen clearly here, shaded in blue. The project is divided into several sections to better reflect the proposed work. The main would consist of open channel restoration, clearing and snagging, log jam and debris removal, and seeding and mulching. The Woodtown lateral would be subsurface drain tile replacement, surface drain construction, grade stabilization structure construction, clearing and snagging, and seeding and mulching. The McElwee number 324, open channel restoration, subsurface drain pipe installation, surface drain construction, blind inlet installation, rock line channel construction, clearing and snagging, and seeding and mulching. And the Crable number 579 would be subsurface drain tile replacement, surface drain construction, clearing and snagging, rock line channel construction, and seeding and mulching. Some representative pictures of a few items of work. This would be an open channel through a wooded corridor. A surface drain swale that's grassed and vegetated. And rock line channel for erosion control. Cost estimate. I'll go through each section, just outlining the total, but you can see how the estimate is broken down. The main, $30,166.43. The Woodtown lateral, $146,916.02. McElwee section 1, $229,580.51. McElwee section 2, $112,742.35. McElwee lateral 1, $8,518.47. The Crable main, $181,363.53. Crable lateral number 1, $23,877.26. And Crable lateral number 2, $48,311.57, for a total project estimate of, including all sections, of $781,476.14. Assessments. The revised code instructs the county engineer to calculate assessments to the individual property owners based on the benefits they will receive from the project. The revised code specifically states, quote, lands that have been removed from their natural state by deforestation, cultivation, artificial drainage, urban development, or other man-made causes shall be considered as benefited by an improvement required to dispose of the accelerated flow of water from the uplands. Assessments are calculated by taking the acres benefited times the land use factor times the percent used to produce a parcel assessment factor. The parcel percent share then is the parcel assessment factor divided by the sum of all the assessment factors. And the parcel assessment then is the percent share times the total estimated cost. Payments. Landowners have two options to pay their assessment. The assessment can be paid in full upfront within 30 days of the final hearing, in this case by September 18th, 2024, and also must give notice of this intent by September 9th, 2024. Secondly, the assessment can be placed on the property tax bill as a special assessment, and choosing this option would include interest and other fees if the project is bonded, and an auditor treasurer's 2% collection fee. We have an amortization example to show a sample assessment. This example would assume no upfront payments and all sections of the project are approved. We have a total estimated construction cost of $781,476.14. We're going to use a sample assessment of $7,800, which is approximately a 1% share of the project. Debt issuing fees would be approximately $8,000, and assuming a 4% interest rate, this would produce interest of $31,259, bringing us a total estimated cost, including the borrowing fees, of $820,735.14. Our 1% share of the total estimated cost then would be $8,207. 2% of this for auditor treasurer's fees is $164, giving us a total assessment for our sample parcel of $8,371. Looking at two sample repayment schedules, 8 years and 15 years, you can see the 8-year repayment schedule would produce a $523.19 collection per half, whereas the 15-year repayment would produce $279.03 per half. Bidding and construction. Approved projects are advertised for public bid, with the lowest and best bid being awarded the contract. Bids may not be accepted in excess of the final hearing engineer's estimate, and the final schedule of assessments is reduced pro rata by the difference between the estimated cost and final cost if the final cost is less than the estimated cost. In this case, upfront payments would receive a refund of their payment. Drainage maintenance. ORC 6137 requires completed projects to be placed onto drainage maintenance. The purpose of maintenance is to keep the project operating at its design capacity. Maintenance funds are collected as a special assessment, just like the construction assessments, and common maintenance activities include inspections, seeding, repairs, and erosion control. Maintenance assessments are determined based on the final schedule of construction assessments, and most of our projects average between 2.5% and 5% annually. The collection percentage can vary depending on the maintenance needs of the project, and drainage maintenance is perpetual. Going back to our amortization example, our sample construction assessment of $7,800, if we apply a 3% maintenance assessment, including the 2% auditor treasurer fees, this would produce an annual maintenance assessment of $238.68. You can see this assessment for maintenance is collected concurrently with the construction assessment until the construction assessment is paid off, and then just the maintenance assessment is collected. Cost benefit. Benefits of drainage improvements exist for both residential and agricultural parcels. The benefit to agricultural parcels is realized by the increased yield as a result of good drainage. Estimated yield increases given the soils in the area would average 46 bushels per acre for corn and 14 bushels per acre for soybeans, given the appropriate drainage improvements are in place. Looking at a couple different portions of the project, for the main, the USDA average crop price from 2018 to 2022 for corn is $4.94 per bushel, and for soybeans, $11.41 per bushel. There are 1,113 acres of land in the watershed that is currently agricultural. For corn, 46 bushels per acre increase times $4.94 times the 1,113 acres is equal to $252,918.12 benefit. For soybeans, 14 bushels per acre times $11.41 times the 1,113 acres is $177,790.62. The average annual benefit, assuming an equal split of crops in the watershed, is $215,354.37. Multiplied over a potential 20-year return, this would equal $4,307,087.40 of benefit. Applying the same example to the McElwee number 324, there's 355 acres of agricultural land in that portion of the watershed. For corn, we would have an annual average benefit of $80,670.20. For soybeans, $56,707.70 for an average annual benefit of $68,688.95. For the Crable number 589, 77 acres of agricultural land. For corn, our average benefit would be $17,497.48. For soybeans, $12,299.98 for an average annual benefit of $14,898.73. These figures do not take into consideration individual farm management practices and are meant to provide a broader overview of the benefits of improved drainage. Individual properties may see more or less than the average benefits presented based on a variety of factors, including farm management practices, utilization of the improved drainage, and seasonal fluctuations. The provided examples do illustrate the fact that good drainage is a key factor in farm profitability and would reflect positively when considering a cost-benefit analysis for the individual sections of this project, as well as the project as a whole. For residential properties, the benefits focus on quality of life, neighborhood perception, and home site sewage treatment systems. A failed home site sewage treatment system can cost $15,000 to $25,000 to repair or replace. New developments, on average, spend $8,700 per lot on providing adequate drainage outlets. With 42 residential parcels in the watershed, this would equal $365,400 benefit on average. For the main, I'm sorry, I think that was a copy-paste error, Commissioners. That bullet point should have been taken out there. My apologies. This is our example. For the main, there are 84 residential parcels, 8 times $8,700, $730,800 average benefit. Woodtown lateral, 7 residential parcels, equaling $60,900 average benefit. McElwee number 324, 34 residential parcels times 8,700 is $295,800 average benefit. And the Crable number 589, 44 residential parcels equaling $382,800 average benefit. Project sections. The main and Crable number 589 can be completed independently. The Woodtown lateral and McElwee number 324 can be approved independently of each other, but both require approval of the main. Approval of McElwee Section 2 and McElwee Lateral 1 both require the approval of McElwee Section 1, and Crable Lateral number 1 and Lateral number 2 can be approved independent of each other, but both require approval of the Crable main. This slide just shows that same statement in a matrix for you. Decisions. If the decision is to deny, it is recommended to distribute the costs incurred to this point to the landowners in the same ratio as determined by the final schedule of assessments. Those estimated costs to date are $15,000. Engineer's recommendation. This recommendation is verbatim from the report, so I will read it. Based on all of the information gathered and generated, I believe this project, as proposed, is technically feasible and would serve as an adequate outlet for the drainage needs of the watershed. Furthermore, the parcel assessments for this project are within the range of assessments that can be expected for a project of this scope. The testimony brought to the Board of Commissioners by the landowners as to whether the benefits of this project exceed the costs should be given significant consideration in the decision to move forward with this project.
Okay, with that, do we have any questions from board members?
Yeah, I have a number of questions, Brett. So you're not going to review the report, final report specifically, separately from the presentation?
Correct.
Okay. You know, the original viewing and the filing of the petition was done in 2019, 5+ years. Why the lag between the original and today?
To be honest, COVID, just staffing levels, trying to keep up, and we had a lot of petitions filed around the same time, and then honestly, just the time it took to get on the board schedule. So.
Yep. The costs increased significantly. You know, I think it was 330-some thousand. Now it's up to 780+ thousand.
Just reflective of the cost increases we've seen over the last 5 years.
Construction. Okay. Do you know if the fields are tiled? Most of the fields.
There is a significant amount of systematic tiling that's been done in the field. Some random tile.
Okay. Woodtown, the Woodtown section has no farmland listed? Is that
No, it is completely residential.
Okay, okay. The Crable, are they mostly the home sewer site, treatment systems, or are they sewer?
I don't believe there is any centralized sewer in Center Village. I believe all those homes are on home site, individual lot septic systems of some sort or other.
Okay, that's all I got.
Commissioners, have anything? I don't think I have anything. I was gonna ask you a question about one lateral being dependent on the other, but you answered that, so. With that, we will take testimony. We'll first hear from those who are in favor of, but before we do that, I understand we have one written,
We did have one written letter turned in from SCHLAEGEL on 8/9/2024. And you have a copy of that letter. It was Gary and Cindy Schlegel, but apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly.
thank you. So again, we will start with those who are supportive of the petition.
Excuse me, we sent a certified letter in,
as well. And
and it was signed
delivered.
and delivered.
What is the name?
What was the name?
McIntyre?
You're an exception, you're not.
If you were listening at the beginning, the exceptions will be discussed after we go through the main petition, and that's when you'll have an opportunity to address it. And I will ask this, before we get into this, if your testimony is gonna be regarding the exceptions, it'd be redundant to testify during this part of it. So you're gonna get your opportunity, but just hold that testimony. If you get off on that tangent, I may ask you to defer until we talk about your particular exception, and we do have 3 exceptions that have been requested. Okay, with that, I'm going to, those who are in support of the petition, if you'll come up, I will give you the oath for testimony, and I will need you to give your name, your address, and your lot number if you know it. It just helps us as we kind of put your concerns or your positive, negative concerns in retrospect with where you're located. So with that, who would like to speak in favor of the petition? But first, I'll provide your name.
My name is Tony Bohr. I'm at 3476 South State Route 605.
And do you know your lot number or your,
I was looking at it just before I came out. I don't.
it just helps us a little bit. I believe right now, but just about.
These maps are so small. I can hold it up. It's like.
Okay, your parcel number? Did you
I'm gonna
determine
look it
that?
up for him. One of the properties they own, I believe, is number 27, Lynn?
Yes, we have 3.
Yeah. Number 27 is one of the parcel numbers?
27?
Yes, one of the parcel ID numbers.
Okay, with that, if you raise your right hand, I'll swear you in, Tony. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
It is.
Proceed.
Good morning, Commissioners. We currently live at 3476 Ohio 605 at the corner of North Road and 605 in Galena. We moved in October of 2019, right after the initial hearing. The day we moved in, our yard flooded from the back of from Ridge Drive all the way up almost to our septic system. So what we did is we started taking, it's on the screen here, we started taking pictures continuously of as the flooding occurred. Almost any time we have a heavy rain, our yard pretty much completely floods, and it fills our leach bed, as well as if it rains hard enough, it backfills into our septic, filling our septic. And so at that time, We can't use the laundry, we can't do laundry, shower, anything like that because the septic is full. It just kind of pours up out of the tank into the yard. As you can see, it pretty much, I even have a picture of the neighbor with a fishing pole in my yard, just kind of, making light of it. But we've kind of tried to do what we can to help minimize it. I make sure I keep the ditch completely clear, because currently there are 7 properties that flow into a 1 8-inch diameter pipe. And the pipe tends to get clogged up, so I continually clean it out. So we started taking pictures in, I think it was February of 2020, so right after we moved in. So I kind of have added here pictures. This was one year we actually got a bunch of rain in February. And as you can see, it pretty much had an ice skating rink out in our backyard. If you look at the picture in the lower left corner, you can see that piece of ice is about 3 inches off the slab that's sitting on. If you basically take a transit level from that center out to the road, that would put the water at the road probably about 5 feet deep in that ditch. So it filled the ditch up and actually did go up across the road. This was February 2022. I think the previous one was, so February 19th, it was icy, it warmed up a little bit, and as you can see, those ridges you see in the yard, that's actually my leach field. And so at that time, again, it was completely full, unable to do laundry or actually showers for that matter, so we had to do laundry at the laundromat. Let's see here. So March 2022, you can see, and if you look at this one, the picture on the left is actually the water actually going up over North Road into the neighbor's property. And the picture on the right is essentially where it goes into the neighbor beside us on Ridge Road. So it essentially flooded from, if you're looking at the bottom of the picture, that's standing on Ridge, looking towards 605. And it flooded all the way over into our neighbor's yard as well. And here again, it's just another angle. You can see where it's flooded from right all the way up to where it crosses under the road as well. And if you look at this one, this picture here, this is on the left is looking up Ridge Drive, and where you see the blue house in the right-hand corner, that is their driveway in the right-hand picture. So you can see that the ditches all the way up the road are pretty much empty. It's because it's completely flooded down into her yard that sits next to ours, as well as our entire yard was flooded. And on average, it takes anywhere from, depending on the time of the year, 3 to 7 days, maybe longer, for it to drain out. May of 22, we didn't have many in 21 because it kind of stalled. We hadn't heard anything, so I couldn't find the pictures from that time. This is March of 23. These are more just kind of a collage of them. You can see this is March 3rd. March 24th, so a second time in the same month. Another one just basically essentially flooded everything in the yard. This is April of 24. So here again, if you look in the lower left, you see the water that's standing there. That's because the leach field is flooded again. And this kind of shows an aerial. If I'm going too fast, I'm sorry. This was, I saw you kind of looking back and forth. If you need me to back up, please let me know.
Yeah.
So I kind of marked it here on the aerial right now. So we've walked this like numerous times. We kind of walk our dog this way, but all of these drains, so 1 through 7, you see numbered, flow into that 8-inch drain that you see in the yellow circle on the left. And so what I did is, like I said, I keep all the weeds out, make sure I keep stuff around, like so there's nothing blocking the drain. And as you can see in the upper left-hand corner, the drain itself sits about 6 inches proud of the ground. So it'll need at least 18 inches of water before it actually starts flowing down into the drain itself. Currently, if you look at the lower left picture, there's probably a 8-inch deep hole below that pipe where the water flows into when it's not a heavy-duty rain. So we're in favor of it, especially because right now our backyard, if it rains, is pretty much useless. We have this nice large property that we really can't do anything with because if it rains, it floods.
Any questions from fellow commissioners?
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering which, is this under the, maybe this is for Brett. Is
That would
this
help. It was, I wrote it down, I forgot, I'm
The
sorry.
Hoover
It's the Crable
61.
number 1 and 2 lateral would be kind of, we're part of the Crable,
The Crable?
yes.
Okay,
My apologies.
okay, Crable. And which part are you? Or a
1
part?
and 2, because 1 and 2 would
1
be-
and 2?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Tony, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, if someone else would like to speak in support of the petition, please come forward. And again, if you'd introduce me with your name, your address, and your parcel number, if you know it.
Okay, I'm Patrick Power. My wife Sue Baumgartner and I are at 2464 South State Route 605. That's for Galena. I think we are lot number 10. Oh, I just had it. 109
Okay,
on the map.
okay, thank you. So, good, will you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, proceed.
Okay, we've lived at our house for about 17 years. We have seen a lot of flooding over that 17 years. I have a barn that I've had to get things up off the floor in order to avoid damage, and I do things with my equipment over the winter because if a rapid snow melt hits, we get water in our barn. We live pretty close to what we call a creek that runs across the road, runs across 605 east to west. The property owners, about 6 of us, I think, maybe 4 years ago, spent about $30,000 with a company to dip the channel, clear it out. They replaced several drain tiles that were inadequate in some driveways that had been constructed over the main channel. My wife and I have spent probably $6,000 or so between that project and also having an excavator come in and cut some swales into our yard. So it has improved things greatly. When the water does catch up, it moves faster out of our yard and our barn. But I also know that it's only as effective as the total project that is being proposed here today. So there's probably more driveways down there that have inadequate tile sizes to get the water moving. I'm sure there are plenty of ditches that have fallen trees and so forth that are impediments. I realize that it wouldn't solve all the flooding problem in our township or our property because you get a 6 or an 8 inch or at night, stuff's still going to back up. But the idea, I think, is to get water moving as fast and efficiently as possible throughout the whole watershed. And I think we would see a great deal of benefit out of that. So that's all I really had to offer.
Okay.
And are you in Craybill too?
You know, I was
Also-
trying to find that before I got up here,
Okay.
and I can't tell you precisely.
Maybe Brett
Yeah.
can help you.
I think you're Woodtown.
We're close to Woodtown and, here we go. All right.
I'll let you know.
We're right
Right
here,
Yeah.
one-on-one.
Commissioners, he would be in the Woodtown lateral, Woodtown lateral and the main portion of the watershed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Brett, it's reasonable to assume it's reasonable to assume all of them would be the main, correct? 'Cause it's
Yes,
important to the-
yes. Everybody would be in the main. The
You made
Crable
a point
would,
to mention that. My assumption was indirectly, they're all part of the
yeah,
main.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else who would like to speak in support of the petition? Please come forward. Good morning.
Hello, my name is Amber Mitchell, 3510 South State Route 605, Galena, Ohio. My parcel number is 63, and I am part of the Craybill. It looks like the line would run on two sides of my property.
You did your homework. You were ready to go when you got up there. Please raise your right hand. I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Proceed.
Thank you. I have lived at my property almost 2 years. Prior to me moving in, I know the previous owners spent a good deal of money to put in their own drainage system. I have a sub pump buried in my backyard that attempts to keep up with standing water that collects on all four corners of my property. Since I have moved in, I have spent money sealing and trying to dry out my crawl space because it has produced mold, which can be damaging health-wise. It also has produced odor within my home, has made me embarrassed to have people come visit. So I am in favor. I believe that moving that standing water off of my property will help with the moisture that's collected in my crawl space and will just add to my quality of life living at my current property. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You said you have a sump pump buried in your backyard?
Yes.
Where's that water going to?
That's a good question. I've tried to probably I'm hoping out to the street. You can see where they laid the where they buried the corrugated black pipe.
So a sump pump was put there before you moved in?
Yes, and I believe it's to collect the water and take it out towards 605, but where it goes after that, unfortunately, probably is into a neighbor's yard. I talked to the company, I don't remember their name, but I called the company after I moved in to ask them questions about that system. And they said it was only intended to be a temporary fix, that it probably had a lifespan of a couple of years. And I believe that to be true because every time it rains, it gets a little less effective in drawing the water off of my property in a way.
What was your address again, please?
3510 South State Route 605.
Okay.
Anything else, Amber?
No, that's it. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak in support of the petition, please come forward. You guys are very polite to each other. Come forward.
We're neighbors.
Your name?
My name is Gary Carmichael.
Erie?
Gary
Gary.
Carmichael.
Well, I like your first name.
Yes. I do not know my lot number, but I can tell you everything
your
else you want.
address.
I can tell you everything else you want to know.
Your address.
I beg pardon?
Your address.
Oh, yes, 13301 North Drive, Galena. Right at the very dead end of North Drive. And I wouldn't know the lot number, of course.
Is she looking?
134.
Thank you, 134. We'll make note of that. I would just,
Raise your right hand.
oh, yes, right hand.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I did.
Okay, Gary, you can proceed.
First, I wanted to back up just a comment of support for Tony's pictures. I'm a neighbor of his, and I see that flooding every time it rains. The main thing I wanted to point out is that, in my comment, is that the maintenance that we have been paying for several years, we've lived at that property, by the way, for 50 years. And we've been assessed a maintenance fee on our tax statement every year that I can recall. But yet, in that period of time, we have yet to see or have heard from any of our neighbors anyone noticing any kind of maintenance activity being performed on the Craybill drain that we rely on. And would ask that question at some point to find out from the engineering people, the soil and water folks, whoever it is responsible for doing that work. Can they tell us when this maintenance was done? Because I understood the purpose of the maintenance was
Well,
to
I tell you,
maintain.
we can't tell you that. Why don't you finish, and then we'll have Soil and Water
Okay,
answer that question, because
That's
I'm curious
really-
too.
that's really all I had.
Okay, good. Is that all you had?
That's it.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Brett, would you like to respond?
Yes, there is a portion of the Crable tile that was put on maintenance by a project in 1962. We have actually done significant amounts of work on that project, repairing blowouts in it was old clay tile when it was originally installed. We have replaced significant sections of that tile. The problem with that project is, for whatever reason, when they did that project in 1962, they just took a section of the tile on maintenance. They did not take the tile down to its ultimate outlet at the open ditch further downstream, what would be the main, the Hoover number 61 main. So we have this reach of tile that's just kind of hanging there, and we cannot do any work downstream of what was improved in 1962. So we have done and spent a significant amount of money trying to keep what we can maintain in good repair, but ultimately the tile is in very bad shape as it continues downstream, and we just simply have no easement or authority to perform work on that part of the system. And I would say that's not a problem that's uncommon with those earlier projects. A lot of our earlier projects, for reasons I can't even begin to speculate, they just did not take them to an ultimate outlet that makes it maintainable.
And from a layman like me, if you don't go to the ultimate outlet, you're just moving the problem around.
Well, it just leaves us with a system that, we can go in, we could have completely brand new tile, and we have replaced a significant amount of that tile. We could have completely brand new tile that has absolutely zero structural deficiencies in what is on maintenance, and it's like building a 6-lane highway that then needs to get through gravel road to get to the city. It's not going to do you any good.
Any other comments? Thank you. Okay. Okay, you beat me to it. It's already in there. How you doing?
Very good.
Could you give us your name, your address, and?
My name is Ed Valeska. I live at 3658 South State Route 605. It is lot number 114.
And what was your last name again, sir?
Valeska, Valeska.
If you raise your right hand, sir. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Proceed.
First of all, I want to extend my compliments to Brett Bacon and his team. What a very comprehensive report and projected activity they have presented. Very impressive. I've lived in the neighborhood for 7 years, and driving around, I see drainage issues on both sides of 605, on Rich Street, on North. It's evident. And I want to say that, you know, it's a community problem. It's widespread. Not each individual parcel suffers, but as a group, we suffer. So I'm in favor of a group solution. I want this water to flow into the Hoover eventually. So I do have a question for Brett.
Direct it to us, then we will.
A question for the commissioners to address to Brett. When we clean up our act, is the next section ready to receive our water? Similar to that 1962 plan. Are we going somewhere?
So your question is, are you just moving the problem around, or is it going to solve the problem?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's
Brett, would
number
you like
one.
to come forward and answer that question?
Oh, okay.
Yes, based on our engineering, our survey, we believe that the receiving channel is functioning as a good and sufficient outlet, and therefore we would not be just moving a problem from one point to another. It has the capacity, it has the condition to accept the flows that it should be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And my second comment is, well, I rode here with two of my neighbors. All three of us are on fixed incomes. And the talk in the car was, well, we acknowledge there's a drainage issue, but now there's the financial issue. So would there be any consideration given to people on fixed incomes? I know that there's the option of spacing it out, but then there's the question of, whoa, gee, how much is the interest going to be? So, but I guess that's my basic question. Any consideration given to people of limited income?
I'll tell you, I'll give you my answer, and Eric can correct me if I misspeak. If that was doable, and I don't believe it is, then all you're doing is putting the burden on someone else. You as a property owner are responsible for your area, whether you have the water issue on your property or someone upstream who's bringing water to your property. So, and I don't think the state allows us to make that determination, so I'm going to have to say no. Eric, if I said anything I misspoke on, is that accurate?
I mean, you have the ability under the statute to extend out, and I think Brett in his presentation showed the multiple options. You can extend it out. I think typically we've done 8 years.
Correct.
But you have the ability to do it longer, which would kind of extend that payback period to reduce the amount. But in some statutes, there is a provision for deferred assessments or lower assessments for certain classes of individuals. That provision is not anywhere in 6131, so you don't have that option. You have to determine it based on benefit and then just decide what that repayment period is.
Okay.
The only other option that you have is to take on a larger amount of the project with county funds instead of assessing it. There's no other option under the statute.
Okay. And his example showed 8 and 15 years, so I assume
Right.
you saw those numbers.
I did. Thank you very much. Actually, my last question is one for Brett once again. What is snagging?
What is snagging? Sounds like a fishing term, doesn't it?
It does. What is snagging, Brett? Right.
Clearing and snagging is a fancy engineering term for removal of debris from a channel or water course.
Okay. Thank
The
you very much.
snagging would be referred to as a tree that's laying in the channel can snag material as it flows down the channel and cause a blockage.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in support of the petition? I will ask twice. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in support of the petition? Okay. With that, we will move to those who want to speak in opposition to the petition, excuse me. And with that, do we have someone who'd like to come forward?
Good morning. My name is Tracy Sarah,
Tracy, what's your last name, Tracy?
CERA,
Okay, I got you.
14859 Center Village Road, parcel number 37. Our property is in the McAwee number 324, sections 1 and 2,
Okay,
to give you a reference.
okay, do you swear you in? Do you swear you in, right hand?
Oh, sorry.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Proceed.
I am representing myself, my 2 siblings, and my father. We have been out in this property
You
area.
are an owner?
I am the owner,
Okay.
yes. We've been out there 50 years. My dad farms, or had farmed the property when he moved out in 1970, and we currently lease the property to farmers who have been farming it for almost 40 years now. We have 4, I will call bullet point objections to this petition. The first I'm going to highlight is that the petition that was filed back in 2019, I know at a much lower cost, but it identified acreage of 1,429 acres was the original petition. The map that that was sent and filed in June of 2019 has our property of approximately, maybe roughly around 45 acres included in this watershed assessment. In July of 2024, we received this second packet in preparation of the final hearing. Our property is extended to include 146 acres in this watershed. We received no notice, and we checked with the engineer's office and soil and conservation as to whether an amendment was filed to identify the increase of the property acreage, and none was able to be provided. And they don't know that any amendment was ever filed. You can.
Okay, thank you.
So our property went from essentially roughly 45 acres to be included in the watershed to a cost that we're going to deal with of 146 acres, which is over 50% of our property in our assessment. The next point I want to make is, and to the commissioner's comment earlier, is any of this agricultural land tiled? My parents invested between 1988 and the year 2000 almost $30,000 to add drainage tile to these fields. We farm agriculturally 231 acres of our property in agriculture. We rotate between beans and corn every year. In 2002, they invested another $10,000 in material to update drainage tile on the east side of our property. And in 2012, another $30,000 was invested to update.
Can I stop you for a
Yeah.
second? You filed an exception. Is that correct?
An exception and an objection, I believe.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Eric, is it okay for her to go ahead and go
Yeah.
forward? Okay. Just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure we're all on the
yeah,
same page.
yeah.
Go ahead.
$30,000 was invested in materials to update the west side tiles. Our tiles run north and south on our property. It drains into a creek that is on the south side of our property, outside of the watershed assessment area, runs down Center Village Road into Duncan Run Creek that falls out way south of Center Village Road. We have directed the water to run south into this creek. We have a small portion in the northwest corner that might fall into the watershed, that might run into the north, but the farmers that invested their time and labor into putting in this tile to help with the yields on the crops, it is all moving south. It does not go into this watershed assessment area. Regarding your comment that the benefit outweighing the cost, again, I noted that we rotate between crop and beans each year. Piper Farms has been farming our farm for almost 40 years. They provided me with historical information back to 2010 of the yield production of our farm. I pulled last night from the, I apologize, National Agricultural Statistics Service of the Great Lakes region for the state of Ohio to find out information on what average bushel per acre yields are in 2023. In the state of Ohio, the average bushel per acre for corn was 191. Average bushel per acre for beans was 57. In 2023, our farmers harvested 262 bushels per acre. In the prior years for beans, we've been averaging 70. So we are far exceeding the average yield per bushel per acre in our production. more so than what the average state of Ohio does. I guess that gives you credit to the fact that drainage does make a significant improvement. But as I will allow our farmers to attest, there's nothing more drainage-wise that can be done on our property. We have no flooding, we have no standing water, we drain it, and we drain it well to help with the production of our crops. I spoke of the yields. The other part I will also have to say in regard to the map issue is that per consulting with an attorney, it is our understanding that amendment has to be provided to notify us of a change of an assessment area. It is a legal requirement of the Ohio Revised Code. We never received that, nor was any amendment ever issued. So that is a legal requirement that we have an issue with. The last part that I will identify is in both maps, whether you're looking at the 2019 map or the 2023 map, we have a wooded area that runs along the north side of our property. It's approximately 6 acres. It is a federally designated wetland. We cannot do anything about that. That has to stay as is. We will incur fines if anything is done to change the status of that wetland area. Our farmers are aware of it. We are very aware of it. It was filed in 2012. We have it on record from the National Resource Conservation Service. Those wetlands can't be touched. They can't do anything about it. And I don't know if inputting a drainage system will actually hurt those wetlands. I don't know what the impact will be on those. I can't attest to that. That's all I have. Those are my 4 bullet points. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I do have one question. Your point 2, I'm not sure I got it. Could you repeat it or give a summary of it?
The drainage tile system?
The number 2.
Yeah, the tile system.
Okay.
Yes. In between 1988 and 2000, my parents invested $30,000 of material costs to put in drainage tile that will run north-south of our property. It does not run east-west. Our current parcel is the far east side of this watershed. I would say 3 or 4 miles away from the majority of the people that signed the petition on Woodtown Lateral. That drainage runs north. We're running the drainage north-south to feed into a creek that runs on the south side of our property, away from the watershed area. Exhibit 3 and 4, I guess, for the handouts that were provided to you by Mr. Dunn.
Okay, thank
We
you.
have 2 farmers here that will attest they did the labor to input all this drainage tile. Between 88 and 2000 and 02, $10,000 of my parents' costs were included to update the tile and make sure it's in good working order. And then in 2012, another $30,000 in material costs were incorporated to make sure that the tile was adequate and running down into the creek. I have Mr. Alan Piper and Mr. Dwight Piper, both farmers of our property for 40 years.
They'll have an
They're-
opportunity to speak.
Yeah, they're available if you have any specific questions.
Now, which lateral are you in?
We're in McAwee number 324, sections 1 and section 2. Our biggest issue is that we don't see how the benefit will outweigh the cost on our particular parcel. We've done everything to try and divert water to where it needs to go. It will not help in the yield production of our crops and beans. We have done as much as we can on a drainage perspective to help with that. So,
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. Just to reiterate, I think you said that originally in the first report, you said you had 45 acres in the watershed?
it roughly equated to 45. There was no specific assessment drawn out at the time. The
Right.
total was 1,429. The map that I have here, and you're welcome to take a look at it, has our property line, has the assessment area running on this little north corner. Oh, thanks, Kevin. You will see it runs where the highlighted red across that area. This is the original map from 2019 when it stated the petition was 1,429 acres. So that northern part that is highlighted, the black is our total property. The yellow line is the assessment area at that time. We roughly equate to about 45 acres is in that assessment area. And you'll see in the darkened area, that is the wetlands. That's 6 acres that we can't do anything with. That's not production or anything like that. If you fast forward to 2023 map, May of 2023, if you look down and you look at that area, you see where the yellow assessment area has been drawn way out of line to what was originally proposed in 2019. So we went from roughly 45 acres in an original assessment area to 146
Okay,
acres.
that's what I want to verify. I want to
Yes.
ask Brett to, and I think I know the answer, but I think Brett should address that.
Are you through with your testimony?
I am, unless you have any more specific questions for me.
Okay, you have a seat, and if we need you, we'll call you back.
Okay,
Thank you.
Commissioners, I'm hearing you say you're not hearing from any legal representatives of the
That's
of the
correct.
owners? Okay. I just wanted to officially log an objection for the record. I represent them.
That's our understanding, and it's our, okay.
Okay.
That is
My
our
name's Kevin
understanding.
Dunn with Plank Law Firm. I filed the letter of objections.
You had the opportunity to advise, which I saw you were
Yep,
doing.
yep. I just wanted to
Okay,
log an objection.
thank you, sir. Ms. Brett.
Yes, Commissioners, I'll address a couple points there. First off, watersheds for drainage petition projects are determined strictly on the surface drainage. If a landowner has better access to a different outlet and decides to tile out of the watershed or take that to a different outlet from what the surface drainage drains to, that is completely an on-farm or an individual lot management decision that a landowner is free to make. To address why the watershed differed from the first hearing to the second hearing, first, watersheds presented at the first hearing should always be considered as draft. They are not based on any on-site investigation. They're completely auto-generated. I went back and looked. The question was raised to me as to why this watershed changed. When I was first asked the question, I wasn't sure of the answer, but in doing my research, the watershed for the first hearing was based on LiDAR data, which is photo elevation data that's generated by the state of Ohio, was based on data from 2007. The data had since been updated, and so the final hearing watershed is based on LiDAR that was generated in 2018. In looking at the difference between the two cuts, what I think happened, what caused what I will refer to as the error in the first hearing watershed, is there was a significant amount of woods on the Morrison property that existed at the time of the 2007 watershed, or LiDAR, I should say, that had been removed at the time of the 2018 cut. Woods, especially for that earlier LiDAR data, tended to create false returns in the elevations, and so it really was one of the factors that would cause error in the tool that we use to run the watershed. With the woods removed, I think the 2018 probably better captured the surface elevations, and so that is the result of the change in the watershed boundary. The watershed boundary did not change as a result of any amendment or any other factor. It's just simply running it through with what I would call better, more up-to-date data.
Yeah, the question I was going to ask you, the other question I was going to ask you, I think you answered, and that is that the water drainage can be diverted to a different watershed, but it has to be underground. I mean,
Well, certainly you can move earth and divert surface water from one watershed to another, but for the purposes of our design and how we go about calculating our assessments, we base that determination on surface drainage. So.
I have a question. I'm trying to think how I want to ask it. This water was, if I understood the testimony correctly, was moved to a different watershed. I'm not going to ask you legally, is that legal? So because you're not an attorney, but is that appropriate to move water from one watershed to another?
I don't think it's something that's covered in the Ohio Revised Code. It would be something that would fall under civil litigation, and would be something if somebody downstream perceives damages as a result of the actions of a landowner in diverting water from one watershed to another, it would be up to that landowner to pursue that through the civil courts.
For my second question then, right, wrong, or indifferent, some amount of water has been moved to another watershed, it appears, which would affect the amount of water that would be flowing into this watershed. Is that a consideration that is taken into consideration or not?
No, because we based our design on the surface drainage.
And that's the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, and I think the other important point to make there, Commissioner, is, even when we go about sizing our designs, it's based on the amount of acres that should be draining to a specific point. We have to design our projects, and this is a general statement, not just specific to this project. We have to design our projects as if all that ground will be drained to that point at some time. If a landowner has tiled outside of the watershed and for whatever reason they become dissatisfied with that outlet, we have to present a project that's prepared to accept that acreage into our project at some point in the future, should that be required or requested.
Okay. Any other questions for Brett while he's up there?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
Okay,
Sorry. Can I refute Brett's comment about something?
go ahead.
The diversion of the water into another watershed, our property is over 2 watersheds. We have 300 acres. Half of it is in the one watershed, Hoover number 61, and the other half goes into our creek. So I don't know that we're diverting a ton of water. We still have access to another watershed. We're not throwing it into another watershed that we don't have any access to. Our property is split.
I understand that.
You understand what I'm saying? Okay.
But gravity determines which watershed you're in,
Yeah.
theoretically.
The other question
well,
to you,
go
his
ahead.
comment about the mapping, which I understand, but the Hoover number 61 map that was included in the petition says 2018. So, and that's what he said that the second map would have been drawn off of, correct?
Okay, have a seat and I'll have him answer. He's coming
Okay.
forward.
The aerial photo that was used to make that map was 2018. The LiDAR data that was used to determine the watershed, which is not the watershed is represented on the map. The LiDAR photos are not shown on the map, was 2007.
Okay, thank you.
So just the aerial photo.
Okay. And the lady stood up behind you there, so why don't you come forward? Good morning.
Good morning, Kathleen Johnson.
Kathleen, your last name again?
Johnson. My husband and I own the
Your
property
address?
number 86, which is 3615 South State Road 605, Galena. Did you want my home address?
Yes, I was looking.
Yeah.
Your home address is in this,
No,
but you're the owner?
I'm the owner of this property, yes.
Okay, go ahead. Give us the address, not of your home, of the property. 3615.
3615 South State Route 605.
Okay, your home address is not made. With that, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Proceed.
First of all, I want to say there is a water issue on the Craybill side. I see it. I own the property. It's a commercial property that I have my law office there. I also rent property to another business. The property that I have, like I say, is number 86 on the map, very near the center of town, which I consider the center of town, the Fracasso's Pizza. So I think everybody else does too. I'm here in opposition to the McAwee project. Our property is in the McAwee watershed. I think we are in number 1 and number 2. First of all, I wanted to say there's been a seismic shift in the world that's occurred since 2019 when this petition was filed. Not so much in water, but in the potential development of this area. We now are, with Intel having been announced several years ago, we also have sewer coming to our township that will be completed as far as the Franklin County connector portion in early 2026 was the last notice that I heard about that. So none of that was mentioned in the engineer's report. I guess it's not their problem to determine what economics are going on in a township, but we are the farthest southeast township in the county, which obviously will be impacted by development and a lot of the vacant land that we currently have that is part of this watershed. I did some calculations by looking at the landowners in the entire McAwee, the three prongs of the McAwee project. There are 20 landowners that are owner occupants. 20. And the total amount of acreage covering those owner occupant homes is a maximum of 86.5 acres. And that's not including the road right-of-way and all the other exceptions that were made. But for the parcels that the auditor has showing owner-occupied, there's 86.5 acres. Not to say that there's not a water issue for 86.5 acres, but this project is slated to cost $350,000. As a cost-benefit analysis, I feel that the costs have greatly exceeded what the benefit would be. There was no one here in support of the McAwee petition, not to say that there isn't somebody out there, but they didn't come today. Of the persons signing the original petition, 4 were owner occupants in the McAwee area, and I have no idea whether they looked at the cost and decided it wasn't worth it to come today to support that, but I have to assume that. The other landowners in the property are farmers who rent their land, speculators who have bought lots, and tenants of residential property. All of those are, I am a commercial property owner, I'm not an owner occupant of my property. Those are perfectly fine things to be, but I don't know that we need to be spending approximately $350,000 on a project that is going to benefit parcels that are generally being held, I would argue, for investment purposes. I would also say the language used in the information that was forwarded to landowners saying that this was not a publicly funded project is not true. The total I saw for the amount to be paid by the state of Ohio, the Township of Harlem, and the County of Delaware is $153,000 of this project, which seems to be a large amount of money that taxpayers, me, I do live in the township, and I live in the county, and I live in the state, are having to pay for a project that benefits approximately in this particular area, and I didn't break down the cost to those public government entities for our particular McAwee watershed, but 86.5 acres of owner-occupied people of land. So I just wanted to point that out to the county. It doesn't seem like a good use of our taxpayer dollars, and it doesn't seem like a good use of the assessments, which has more than doubled in the 5 years that this project has been languishing in this county. You can use COVID as an excuse all you want, but it's been 5.5 years.
Stick to testimony, don't need to editorialize, just stick to the testimony. You're just saying in 5 years.
In 5.5 years, the world has completely changed in our township, and I don't think that was taken into account when this project, in the report for this project or any other aspect. And I'd like the county commissioners to take that into effect as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to the project?
Before we go there, I had a
Okay,
question
I'm
for
sorry,
Brett.
should ask some questions. My apologies.
Ms. Johnson referenced 86 acres in the McAwee. In the write-up, you have 355 acres in McAwee?
It's 355 acres of agricultural.
Agricultural alone,
Mhm.
plus residential?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure I read the numbers correctly.
I didn't mean to, do you?
That's it.
No.
Anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to the, come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Tony Hill.
Tony?
Tony Hill. I live at 13600 Woodtown Road, Galena, Ohio.
And you know your parcel number?
Yeah, it's 44.
44. your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Proceed.
I started this petition back in 2019. And when I started it, I didn't realize that far south of me was going to be involved in this project. I thought it would just be the Woodtown lateral area. My issue was the water just didn't drain fast enough to get where it needed to go. Since 2019, my one neighbor, which is 110, which he's in this, he has put field tile on between our properties, which has helped that problem. The water still drains slow, but in a couple of days it's gone. So, and the biggest thing to me is, since 2019, is the cost, how it's doubled. And to me, the cost outweigh the benefits for me to have this done.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition? Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Julie Good. I'm at 2424 South State Route 605.
You talk faster than I can write.
2424 South State Route 605. I am
And what was your parcel
108.
number?
108.
Thank you.
Also the Woodtown lateral, and the same comments that Tony made. It's just the overall
Swear her in.
benefit.
Swear her in.
I am going to.
Sorry.
Raise your right
Sorry.
hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
Just to sort of reiterate what Tony said, I'm also of the opinion that the cost is not worth it at this point. If you look at my property here, it is coming across my driveway where it does flood, but the water is usually gone in at least a day. And so looking at that versus the over 14,000 price tag, it just doesn't seem worth it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Right there in the front row.
Kevin McIntyre, 3200 South State Route 605, or 69. Do I need to raise my hand?
In just a second. Get ahead of me. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
Could you give me your address again and their parcel?
3200 South State Route 605, and it's parcel 69.
Okay.
We've been there over 30 years on this property. It's about almost 95% wooded at this point. We do not farm. It cannot be farmed unless if it was deforested. The Craneville main line goes through our property and has basically been inoperable for over 20, 30 years. They have come out one time over 15 years ago it collapsed when I fell into it while riding a quad runner. It's about a 24 to 30 inch tile. We called them. They did come out and fixed about a 6-foot section. This tile drains to nowhere. It comes out on the northeast corner of our property above ground, and there's about a 12 to 15, maybe 20-foot section totally missing where it looks like it might have gone into, I think it would be the McAwee property underground again. Again, we've been over, as one people said, we've been paying over 30 years for a maintenance program that we've gotten nothing for. And I do think there is certainly a drainage problem in Center Village. I'm not opposed to that at all. However, we have nothing but the main line going through the middle of a wooded area, and we have nothing tied into it. We have no benefit whatsoever. We do not farm. We do not have any water runoff. We do not have any standing water on our property. And we have a leach bed that works absolutely fine. One of the questions I have is why on the lateral 2 of the Crane bill, why is that not ODOT? That is State Route 605. Why are they not maintaining? They used to. Years ago, 20 years ago, they were always mowing it. They used to bring loaders down there and cleaned out the ditches. That hasn't been done in 20 years. Why is ODOT not handling anything along a state route? But again, this does absolutely no benefit other than allowing them on our property to fix the main line, which I'm not saying it doesn't need fixed, but I have zero benefit as a landowner by this. And they're assessing us over like $8,000 for something that I have no benefit for. So.
Okay, thank you. Brett, I don't know where you want to take it, or hang on a second. Rob, or Brett, one of you want to comment on the ODOT comment?
I can't answer to ODOT's maintenance activities. I don't believe Rob would be able to provide us any insight on that either. I will say that road authorities are not permitted to do drainage work that benefits private properties. The drainage within the road right-of-way is there to drain the road, and I'm going to make the, I think, pretty safe assumption that ODOT is satisfied with the roadway drainage, but that doesn't mean that the drainage is optimal for private properties, and that's the purpose of a petition project, or one of the options to landowners to improve their private drainage is through the petition process.
But ODOT is still responsible for the drainage
Within the right-of-way.
Right, okay. Okay, thank you. Sir, you can come forward now.
My name's Edgel Weaver. I live at 13688 Woodtown Road.
Hang on, let me get this down.
Parcel
Say that again?
107 and 41.
And your name again, sir, I didn't get it.
Edgel Weaver.
Weaver?
Yes.
Okay, will you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, I do.
Proceed.
I see absolutely no benefit for my property for this watershed. Like my lots do not lay wet. If they get wet, they drain within 2 to 3 hours. So for $22,000, I don't see the benefit at all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is that it? Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Which,
You said 107 and 41.
yeah, I'm trying to find them. Which,
The Woodtown,
is it in Woodtown?
I think. Did he say Woodtown?
Do you have a question, or just?
I'm just trying to find
Yeah.
the property. Yep, I got it. Never mind.
Is it Woodtown?
Yep.
Okay.
It's at the corner, Woodtown and State.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition? Okay. Yes, sir, come forward.
My name's Alan Piper, 14590 Woodtown Road. And,
You know your parcel number by chance?
no, I don't.
Okay, and your address, though, your Woodtown, what, where on Woodtown?
14590,
14590.
yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
78.
37, 97, let's see.
what was your number again? I thought you were
Well,
checking.
I should have put my glasses on, I can't,
Well, I thought you
can't
were, I
read
was
it.
waiting for you to tell me.
Sir, did you say your first name was Al?
It's off, right up Woodtown. My question is more financial than it
Well, let me
is.
swear you in.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
We've lived in the community the whole year. Of course, we done a lot of tile work around that area. We rent a lot of ground in that area. And we also own a little bit on, off of Center Village Road. It's in the McAwee, plot for the watershed. And I guess my biggest issue, it's a lot of money, and a lot of the landowners that we rent off of, I'm sure once, if this thing goes through, they're gonna want more money on land rent, which, if you realize what a farmer is, I mean, they're kind of pushed what they can pay now at this point. Most of the rent is really, pretty high. You got a lot of extra cost in the fertilizer and seed and stuff like that, as well as equipment. So there's going to be a big increase, I think, in rent to justify, putting this watershed or correcting the watershed. Now, I know there's issues along that watershed. I mean, there's places that lay wet no matter if you got tile in it or what. I mean, it helps get rid of it, but there's still areas around it, especially what we farm and some of the other farmers. I mean, within a few days, the water's gone. I mean, it's not a big issue for a lot of the farm ground, but a lot of the issues, I think, is right around 605 in Woodtown, where a lot of these houses have been built and they've redesigned the natural fall of the ground. So, and I know that creek's probably got trees and things that fell down in it, which is probably the biggest burden, more so than anything else. But I guess that's my biggest issue, is just going to be a big burden, I think. I mean, it's going to be a burden, yes, but to get it corrected, it's going to be an increase in farm rent and everything else as far as to do this watershed. But that's what I wanted to bring up as far as my concern on this project.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Is there anyone else like to speak in opposition? I will ask twice. Is there anyone else like to speak in opposition? Okay, that will conclude the testimony. And I'm going to suggest that we go into executive session for a few minutes here, and then we'll come back out, and then we'll decide what direction we're going to travel. So with that, could we put this in executive session, Jennifer?
Resolution number 24-645, in the matter of adjourning into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second, discussion, vote.
Jen, you'll have to note the purpose.
Oh, and what would that purpose be?
Pending or imminent
Pending or imminent litigation.
Yeah. And I will, for pending and,
So motioned by Commissioner Lewis and seconded by Commissioner
Right.
Bent.
Okay,
thank you.
Vote on motion 24-645. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye. We're now in executive